And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me for another edition of Digital Soul Presents. I'm very honored and proud to have this next brother on, a true talent and true legend who's played with two very big groups of the funk community, and also a very talented singer, songwriter, trumpeter, entrepreneur, and just a down-home good brother. I want to welcome here Skip Martin on the show. Thank you so much, my brother.
Thank you for having me. Thank you
Thank you.
so much.
How things have been going? How's everything going so far with you?
Everything is really going well. I've been really fortunate, and all kind of things are happening right now. God has been good and blessing me, and I'm just really grateful and a really mindset of being of gratitude. That's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I heard that, and I know you're full of gratitude because one of the reasons why you're on this show is because you have a big accomplishment that just hit not too long ago with a very recent song that
Yes,
that you've worked on, a very legendary song actually done from Curtis Mayfield and the Impressions back in the day. People
yes.
ready, and you decided
People
to take
get ready.
yeah, you decided to take on the task of recreating this song with a bunch of friends, legends. I mean, the list goes on with all the people that are on
Oh
this
yeah.
song, and it's up for an
Uh,
Emmy nomination. What? How
yes,
about
it's
that,
actually we've actually received the two Emmy nominations.
man?
So, so that is a blessing, and I'm just so, I'm so thankful about it because uh, I know you were talking to Patrice and what have you, and he was there when this very first started,
Yeah.
and it really wasn't my idea.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I can't take claims to it being my idea. I was working. I had a thought about doing a collaboration with this new relationship that I had just started with Paris Smith from the group As Yet,
Mm-hmm.
and he was telling me about his history and his family and their gospel affiliations and all of those things. And I said, I had just recorded this gospel CD called God Will Find You, and on that CD I have this one song called People Get Ready by Curtis Mayfield. And I want to know if maybe you'd want to we could collaborate on this, and put you guys on it, and that would be something really cool. He says, "Yeah, man, I'm gonna talk to the guys. Let's do that." And we were at his studio at the house, and so we started recording it. And as we started putting the voices on it, a voice said to me, "Expand on that."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, that's what I'm doing. I am expanding on it. Well, I just kept on going. I didn't pay too much mind. I just kept on going. So we had started at like 9 o'clock in the evening. We got finished. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. And his girl at the time, Steph Payne, she was there, and we added her to it as well. So everybody had like four tracks uh, to sing their part four times. And so we got through all the guys. And when we got done, like I say, it was 3 o'clock in the morning or so. And as I'm leaving the house and getting in my car, I heard the voice again, but louder. The voice said, expand on that.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, wow. Okay. So then since it's 3:30, I started calling people in Austria. Okay. And it was already 10 o'clock sometime their time. And I started talking to the lead violinist from the Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra. He's my brother from another mother, Stefan Meyer. And I got him and I asked him would he do his part on it. And then when we got finished with that conversation, I started calling New York. And I started calling all of my other friends, Dougie Fresh and Robert Cool Bell and Royal Bayan from Color Me Bad and all of these different people. I started calling the East Coast. And then I just worked my way back from the East Coast to the West Coast. And I was on the phone from 4 o'clock in the morning till probably 10 o'clock, and I'm talking to all of these people, and I'm just like, look, I got this great thing, and it's coming together. And would you be willing to just record a part on it? And I'll give you the track and everything. And I wasn't offering any money. I just told them what happened and how it was going about, and that I just wanted to fulfill a purpose. And really, what got me to really even going this way is because we were in COVID. And for musicians, we were all, everything was postponed, canceled, or put off.
Yeah.
And I didn't have anything for the first time in 40 years on my books
Right.
for a year. So everybody else was in the same position. So I'm calling people and like, look, I felt so I think I was a bit angered into this motivation to do this because I'm stuck at home and I'm looking at the news and the Republicans are fighting with the Democrats are fighting with the Republicans, the whites are fighting with the blacks, the Breonna Taylor is going on, the Floyd George Floyd, all these things were going on and happening, all this craziness. And I'm like, the only thing that they're not talking about is hope. Ain't nobody talking about any hope.
Yeah.
And because of my religious upbringing, I can't say that I'm a, totally, I'm not a pastor or what have you, but I have that upbringing. So I
Yeah.
have some knowledge from it. And I remember that there's a phrase in the Bible that says, when we get close to the end of days and times, it will be the musicians that will bring about the message and pass it on. So I said, I got to do something. And this was what I ended up doing. And I ended up getting 29 people total. All these great people from As Yet, Dazz Band, Tom Schumann from Spyro Gyro was my music director. He's a 14-time Grammy nominee. David L. Cook is an EGOT. It means he's got an Oscar, an Emmy, a Grammy, and Tony. And then I just started calling everybody. I called Stevie Wonder. I called Dougie Fresh. I called my white rocker friends, John Elfonte, lead singer of Kansas, and Kevin Chalfant from Storm and Journey, and Taylor Dane. I called them. And I called a host of people, and most of the people, the 29 people, they all said yes. I might have called 31 or 32 people. I only had 2 or 3 people that didn't respond. Everybody else did.
Wow.
And I put them on the project. And every time I would come into the studio, my engineer would say, "Well, Skip, I mean, is this it? Or you're not adding anybody else?" Because by the time we got done, it was over 100 and something tracks.
Wow. Wow.
It was the biggest project he'd ever done, the biggest project that I had ever done.
Wow. Yeah.
And by all means, the most profound project that I had ever done.
Yeah.
And then now here I am doing this project with no gigs on the table. And I asked my partner, my wife, I said, listen, I've got to do this. Something is in it for me to do this. And I know I don't have any gigs on the table, but I'm going to have to take some money from my savings so I can pay my engineer to record and document all of this stuff. And then I did a video. The video cost me $10,000 just to have the video done. And that was a video commercial. That wasn't the full video.
Yeah.
So at the end of the 3 months, I had spent about $45,000 of my savings.
Wow.
And just putting that all together. And then I started a campaign to put it through the Grammys. And that made me spend a little bit more money. So that I put that campaign together. The Grammys are so affiliated and tied up with finances and nepotism and so forth and so on, that no matter what I put in there, I even got it to #1 on the charts, and I still couldn't get it into the Grammys.
Wow.
So I said, okay, well, maybe it wasn't meant, but I'm not going to give up on this. God told me to do this. I'm not going to give up. And so I stayed fast with it, and I put another year I had to add another creative component to it. And since I had recorded all of the horn parts, what have you, as a horn section, I went and recorded a muted trumpet and added that to the horn section. So I made it legit. I meant to resubmit.
Yeah.
So I resubmitted it again, and the same thing happened as it happened the year before. I still didn't get a nomination. So one of my friends that's on that, David L. Cook, he's also a member of the Emmy board. And he said, well, let's submit this video and submit it through the southern regions of United States, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee's, Florida's, Texas, New Orleans, all these different places. He said, let's put it in the commercials and this and that, and public domain where everybody can check it out. And so that's what we did. And the video ended up garnishing notice by the Emmy Academy.
Wow.
And that's how we ended up getting the Emmy nominations. I mean, we filled out, I signed up to be on the board, and I did all those things. And we went ahead on and submitted it and just kept our fingers crossed. In April, he told me at the end of April they were going to let us know if we got on it. And he called me at the end of May. At the end of April, I didn't hear anything from him. And I'm like, well, maybe we didn't get it. So, okay, I did my best. I'm done with that. I'm going to keep on moving.
Mm-hmm.
And then he calls me about a week later. He says, did you see your email? I said, no, what? Look at the text message. And then he sent me a text message telling me, wow, we got 2 nominations for an Emmy. And I just started crying, man. I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
Oh my God. Because it validated what I was not sure on. But that's what faith comes in, because you have to have a commitment, even though you don't see the end of it, to follow through with something that you believe in, or some intention that's that strong and that powerful. And this was a crazy idea to try to get 29 people on a 3-minute 14-second song.
Yeah.
And this wasn't my song. So it was just a blessing, and that's how it came about. And I was so thankful. And it started off there with Paris, and that's where the thing just actually started off. But like I say, it wasn't my idea. It wasn't Paris's idea. It was an idea that was put in my head from somewhere unbeknownst to me.
Yeah.
and it just told me to do this. Mm-hmm. And it came, like I said, in recapping, it came from my frustration and anger at all the difference, and nobody mentioning any type of hope.
Yeah. You're totally right about that. We were all in that time, and I remembering it being just a very, very dark, bleak time. And
yes,
it was really, really depressing and a little bit stressful at times during that period.
Yes.
I vividly remember that.
Yes, and it pissed me off. I'm like, I got to do something.
Yeah.
I can't just sit here on this and let this go like this. I got to do something.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that's the biggest message that I want to pass on and convey to our listening audience, is that don't ever think that you can do nothing to change the world. If you change the world for one person and everybody did that, the world would be a whole lot better place.
And also, doing it the way you did it, because listening to your story, you said you heard a voice in your head. You were just something in your head just pushed you. It wasn't planned. You didn't go into anything thinking, okay, I'm gonna make an Emmy nominated.
Right.
You didn't go into it for that purpose. You just did what you felt, and you followed the spirit.
We needed it. Yep, and we needed it. So and that was what made me write the phrase when I did the video. I don't know if you've seen the video. He might have shown it to you. Paris might have, but the whole caption to encapsulate that is, this is the most profound project of my life, because it ain't about me, it's about us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that us is what made it happen. That us, that thinking about us, and when we stop being so selfish and become more selfless, it adds more power to it. Just like giving gives you more power than receiving.
Yeah.
So and that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Whoop, there it is. It's a beautiful thing, man, to know, to hear you and Paris's story about this project, the way it grew and it blossomed into what it is. And now it's at the
Yeah.
stages of this nomination. I mean, that's a blessing.
Oh my goodness. I just went through all of these different people. And listen, one of the first people I talked to was a guy that gave me my vocal lessons
Mm-hmm.
from a great vocal coach, and it was Stevie Wonder.
Mm-hmm.
And he got me to a guy named Seth Riggs, who's like was world-renowned vocal coach. And I asked him about he's about one of the third or fourth people I asked. And he said yes, he would do it. And so here I'm like, okay, I got Stevie Wonder on this, I got this, that, all this is gonna happen, but I didn't have Stevie's parts. And I'm just worried, I'm doing all of these parts. I got everybody, and I told folks I had Stevie on here, he's a place, and I didn't have the courage to ask him to sing. So I
Mm-hmm.
just said, look, man, would you play harmonica? It's still the signature, it'll be great. He said yes, and I'll do that. And
Yeah.
I'm talking to his management and all of this stuff. And here I am, 6 weeks in, 100 something tracks in, almost finished with the project. I still don't have Stevie's part, but I done said I had Stevie. He's gonna be on it, and I'm like, oh, Stevie, don't let me down, man. I know. Oh, and one morning I got up. My wife said, "Did you see your email this morning?" I'm like, "No, what?" She said, "Look at it." And this was from Stevie Wonder. Like, here's his harmonica parts. And I ran around the house. Ah! Oh, shit! Oh! Oh, it was freaking amazing. I'm like, okay. I got back
He
over to the
came
studio.
through.
He came through. I went back to the studio and told him I got Stevie's harmonica parts. He
Yeah.
said, Skip, now is this it? This is the last. I was like, this is the last one, you know. And then it wasn't the last one because right after that, then Dougie Fresh, I had asked, who did I ask before? Oh, I know who I'd asked. I had asked Coolio, and I was going to have Coolio do it.
Mm.
And I had written out this rap that I wanted to say, and choo choo, I can hear the trains are coming. Change is coming. Stop the hate from overrunning. It's a new day. We gotta make a brighter way. Teach the people how to pray and let them know a train is coming. So I had written that out.
Mm.
Julio said, "Well, now I want to write my own rap." I'm like, well, let me think. Called Dougie Fresh. Dougie Fresh called me back. I said, Dougie, would you do this, man? I got a rap, and I would love you to do it in your way. He said, yeah, man. He just went right in there and killed it, and it
Mm.
was a rap. I'm
Mm.
like, thanks, Coolio, I got it. And that's how it came about. I'm like, woo,
Wow. Wow.
Jesus, thank you. So it was such a blessing, and I'm so happy to have people around me that's what CC Peniston told me because
Yeah.
I had asked her, she's on it, and CC Peniston, Allison Williams, Ray Parker Jr., Tony Terry, Howard Hewitt, Reggie Calloway from Midnight Star, all of these different people, and I when I asked CC, I'm like, CC, you'll do this? She says, yeah. She says, I'll do it for you. She says, Skip, you know why you're getting this? I said, no, why? She says, because all these people love you.
Yeah.
And then a tear started out. I was like, they do. I was like, I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Because it was out of love. Nobody else had anywhere else to go. And here I am trying to
Yeah.
convey something that was, look, we can all be a part of this. I had no idea that it was going to manifest into such a profound project.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the intention was there and I was sold on it, and that's what I was planning to do.
And
So
and here we
so
are.
and here we are today talking about this. If don't nothing else happen, if we don't get anything, which I believe we will win one or if not two. But and I'm booked on the day that they're doing the show, which is the 17th
Mhm.
of June in Atlanta, Florida. This is for the southeastern region of the Emmy Awards, Emmy Academy.
Mhm.
And I told David L. Cook, I said, man, I would love to be there. I mean, I want to be there. But
Mhm.
I have already procured one of my major contracts with the largest cruise ship in Japan called Azuka. And I've already been deposited. My first class tickets already been bought. My band's already set up. I cannot,
Oh,
I cannot bail out.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So He said, well, I understand. Okay, well, he said, well, I said, who can you find, that can come in? He wanted somebody of notoriety, and I asked Taylor, would she be a part of that? And he'd come and get the award if she could. And she's like, I'm out of the country. I asked Ray Parker, he was out of the country doing it. I asked Howard, he was doing concerts. So David told me, he said, Skip, I got somebody that can go up there and get the award for us. And I'm like, who is that? He he said, that's the lady named Dee Dee Sharp. You know who Dee Dee Sharp is? I said, yeah, she's an old school classic, like a Diana Ross. He said,
Yeah.
yeah, he's gonna come up and get it. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I talked to Dee Dee, and all she was talking about was, I got this dress, and I'm gonna wear this dress like this. That's what ladies thinking about, their dress.
Yeah, how they gonna look?
Uh-huh. And then I have a friend of mine, her name is Renee Noor, and she's out of Atlanta. She's an ex-Ebony Fashion Fair model. And she was there when they were doing the announcements for what the nominations were. And she and her daughter were there. And she told me, she says, my daughter just heard your name announced. And she looked at her, she says, that's probably another Skip Martin. and and then I called her, I said, no, we got a nomination. We got two nominations. She said, my daughter said she heard your name. I thought it was another Skip Martin. I said, no,
Wow.
that was me. So it's just one thing led to another. And I'm just so grateful because so many other things. I mean, there's just the way the universe is. You keep putting things out there and you get back what you put into the mirror of the
Yeah,
universal. What the world
absolutely.
is. It's a mirror. It reflects what you put into it. So if you
Absolutely.
talk about haters, that's all you're going to hear from is haters. If you
Absolutely.
talk about us and commit to that, no matter what you see before you, then that's what's going to come back into your world.
Yeah,
I'm a staunch believer of that.
absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
so just keep on doing it, and that's how this all came about. And I just keep on. I'm even more convicted to do other things for. So I was just like, well, when I was doing this, and there's a guy here. He's from Buffalo, and he plays keyboard. His name is Billy Nunn, and Billy is one of those one of a kind type of players. This guy's got two brains, and he makes his fame to fame to claim. His brother's name is Bobby Nunn. He was on a Motown artist.
Yeah,
Billy Nunn,
I'm familiar with them.
Billy Nunn, right? Okay, so Billy Nunn uh, plays organ and
Mm-hmm.
keyboard. So he'd be playing the bass, and on the right hand, he's playing all kind of other stuff.
Yeah,
All of that on the right hand, he's just doing it. He just sit up there rocking his head back and forth like Stevie Wonder with these two minds going. He's incredible. So long story short,
yeah,
my brother came up sick, and his wife found him that he had just fallen out, passed out upstairs, and she called 911. They took him over to the hospital. They didn't know what was happening with him. And then while he was at the hospital, he had like three strokes and became blind, uh, became paralyzed in his legs, and his left hand was paralyzed, and all of this stuff. And he was like on his deathbed. And so I just went by. I like, man, I love you so much. So I went by. I took my trumpet, see him in the hospital.
mm-hmm.
I played Amazing Grace, which I had recorded on my gospel CD, God Will Find You. I played that, and I played a jazz song that he taught me called Subtle One, and I just played that, and he just was bringing him back. He's oh yeah, oh
Yeah,
yeah, oh yeah. And his wife was just so happy, and they're of meager needs. They're a meager needs type people, and I just said, I said, come on. We were on our way to go, and I was dropping her off. Can you give me a ride back home? I've got all this stuff to move, and I've been putting it on this cart and pushing it across the street. And I said, "Come on, girl, let me go take you to get you something to eat." So I went and got her some dinner and everything. Bought her a bunch of extra wings and all that stuff. She had
yeah,
dinner and all of that stuff, and we chopped it up. And then she said she had to move, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna go get a couple of guys, Mexicans, because I just had a knee surgery and I'm not about to be picking up no boxes and moving stuff. So I'm gonna relegate.
yeah,
So so let me call So I went got me a couple of Latin cats and put them in the car and had to move the boxes up and down the stairs, which is a whole lot easier than me doing it.
Yeah.
And long story short, just I had to do this because it ain't about me. I had to extend myself to other things where other people need it. And I know that at some point in time it will come back, but I wasn't really doing it for that notion. It's just that I need to keep doing what I've been doing and recognize an opportunity to help somebody else. And that's really the moral of what I'm saying about this.
Yeah, absolutely. The more you give, the more you get back in the world. Absolutely.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
It all comes back to
yes,
you, Wash. Yeah.
yes, yes. And don't do it because of that. Just do it because it
Absolutely.
needs to be done.
Yeah.
Somebody needed to do it,
Yeah.
you know.
It has to be
That's
from the heart. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody needed to do it, and that's why I did this project in the first place, because somebody
Yeah.
needed to say something positive instead of getting all of that poison all in our craws and all in our souls and all in our hearts and
Yeah.
intentions. Because when you hear all that stuff on television and you're captive to it, you can't go to work, you can't go outside, you can't breathe because you got masks on, all of that stuff, it leads to a whole lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
So instead of feeling that anxiety, I turn that anxiety into an urgent uh, desire, a burning desire. That's what it was, a burning desire to make some kind of change.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's if I can make some kind of change at somebody else's mind with this story, which is part of why I'm on here with you today, brother.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to people to hear my conviction, uh, and I'm sure you can hear it and feel it because it's authentic. I ain't nothing made up, you
Yeah.
know. Just this is how it was, how it is, and how it's going to be. And if we just do this, when we do this, not if, when we do this, we will see it will bear fruit. It
Yeah.
always does, you know. So that's where I am with this, and I'm just like I say, I'm so grateful, and I'll end it off with saying it wasn't my idea.
Hey, that's the best blessing you can get when it just not when it's not planned, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't my idea. So, I'm really thankful for that. And
Absolutely.
after doing all of these different things and still having families and losing people and going through the traumas of everyday life and what have you that everybody has to go through, struggles.
Yeah.
That's another thing I wanted to share with our younger people, our younger audience out there, because I find that this generation, younger generation, tends to, if something is difficult, then they drop it and they move on to something else and they say, well, I guess that wasn't for me. But the whole lesson in life is no matter what it is you're going to do, in order to be exceptional and opulent, you're going to have to fail and it's going to have to be difficult. You're
Yeah.
going to have some struggles. And the lesson in life is problem solve. Figure out how to make that work.
Right. Right.
And once you figure out how to make that work, that's where the growth comes in.
Absolutely.
Because growth doesn't exist in a comfort zone.
Yeah, that's the truth. That
It
is the truth.
just does not,
That's the
you know.
truth.
And that was part of what got me to where I am today because I can't tell you how many times I failed at a part and had to do it again 100 times, 100 or 200 times. But I don't. I had to do that 200 times
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
order to be able to sing it like water. In
Yeah.
order to be able to sing it like water, I could have quit uh, 10 times into it.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
you know, get it, get this. This is, but it's just an example
Mhm.
of, let those challenges work out and problem solve those challenges.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you will mature and grow at a much faster rate
Yeah.
than most if you can do that.
Absolutely. You started with the Dazz, but even before that, starting in the trumpet, what led you into what age or how old were you when
Okay,
you got into trumpet playing?
and I have the story for you. I repeat this, tell people. I started my career at 7 years of age,
Mhm.
and I was riding in a car, a Dodge Rambler, with my grandmother and grandfather, and we were going somewhere. And I heard on the radio they were doing a tribute to Nat King Cole, and he had just passed away. And I heard unforgettable.
Mm.
That's what you are. And I said to myself, wow, sounds like he's in the car with us. And then I said to my grandmother, I said, Nana, that's what I'm going to do. She turned around. She said, what, baby? I said, I'm going to play music so that when I die, people will feel like I'm still in the car with them.
Wow.
That's when it started for me.
Wow.
And by
That's big.
11, by 11, I started playing trumpet and being lazy because they brought three different horns in. They brought a trombone in, had a big old mouthpiece and a slide. I looked at that mouthpiece. I said, that mouthpiece is too big. I'd never be able to play that. And then they brought in the saxophone. The saxophone was beautiful. Looked
Mm.
like a beautiful S with buttons all over it. I looked at all them buttons. I said, ugh, got too many dang buttons. I'll never be able to play that. And then they brought the trumpet in, had a small mouthpiece and three buttons. I said, oh, there it is. That's what I'm going to play. And I thought it was going to be easier. I didn't know that it was one of the more difficult ones to play.
Yeah.
But that's where I chose it, and then it chose me, and then the rest of that is history. I started playing as a professional at 15 years of age. After starting, I started playing it at 11. By the time I was 15, I knew how to play You're Still a Young Man. Ba-da-da-da,
Yeah.
ba-da-da-da-da. And that was my audition piece to get into the band.
Ah.
I started playing at 15 after the guys came and asked my mother twice. They asked her once, could I come play in the band? And my mom said, no, he's 15. He's still got to go to school. He's got to do to get his grades right and this and that sober. No, he's too young. He can't drive. None of this. No, he can't go. And I'm like, Ma, I want to play in the band. Come on, Ma, I want to play. No, can't do. You got to go to your school first. The guys came back a week later with flowers and asked my mom again.
Ah.
We'll take care of him and make sure that he, you know, she said, okay, I'm gonna let you go play. And you got, but the first time you don't get in here before 11 o'clock at night, it's all over. Got it? They said, yes, Mrs. Harris, we got it. Yes, Mrs. Martin, we got it. Okay. So after 2 weeks of playing, back in 1971, 70, something like 1971, I brought home $250, which was more money that my mom was making taking care of me and my sister. And I split that with her, and she just looked at me. She said, "Well, there it is. Go ahead on and do it." And that from that time on, I was 6 nights a week. The guys would come pick me up. I'd start stage band at 7 in the morning. I'd get out of school at 2:20. I was a wrestler, so I had my wrestling practice till about 5, and then I was wrestling, and I was also on the diving team. I did a lot of things that black people wouldn't do
Yeah.
because it was my way of anonymity so I could beat up on white boys legitimately. Okay. So that means I could rub them on the mat legitimately and beat their behinds, or so they were swimming. Hey, I can do flips in the air. And so now I could beat them at that. I would play ping pong. I beat them at that. I would go bowling. I would beat them at that. I didn't do all the stuff I didn't play football. I didn't play baseball. I didn't play basketball. Those were all the things they expected us to do. But they didn't expect me to be on the tennis court whooping their behinds. They didn't expect me to be in the wrestling mat with all that sweat and all those white boys with hay baling white boys, and I'm picking them up and slamming them. So that was my way to neutralize what was going on because the music gave me the anonymity to be a person. That boy Skip, he plays his trump. He plays the heck out of that trumpet and sings. Not that black boy Skip. So
Yeah.
it helped me to have a place in the world of non-diversity, in
Yeah.
the world of prejudice and racism and injustice and civil rights. I was there watching Martin Luther King make walks and stuff. I was carrying the sign, "We shall overcome," and sing, "We shall overcome someday." So I saw all of that. And I go cruise through all of that. I grew through that whole scenario of uh, using the N word,
Yeah.
and now the young people want to use it as it's a slang and it's okay. This a white guy. We got a white nigga that just came in here. This is how far they've gone with
Yeah.
that. Okay, but where I came from, it was like I paid too much of a price, and so did the ones before me, to even accept it. I don't care what it is today. You call me Skip or Mister, but I ain't your nigga. I
Yeah.
ain't your any of those things.
Yeah.
So let's go another way with that. And when I produce other young artists and this and that, so forth, you don't have to say this word. You don't have to say that word. You don't have to say this word. Be more creative and say something positive.
Absolutely.
So they taking my lead.
Right.
So I mean, and so it's got to be that way. So somewhere in there, you have to set some kind of a standard to make people convince people that there's another way to do it.
Yeah.
And you get more bees with honey than you do with vinegar.
Absolutely. That's
That's
a
not just
fact.
a cliche; it's a fact.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a fact. You know, that's why in the Bible it says, "Love thy enemy," because love beats everything. Everything. Nothing beats love. Nothing.
Absolutely.
you know. So, you know, and even if you had to be a guy like Martin and lose his life for that, it was all for the purpose. Jesus lost his life as well. It's
Yeah.
all for the purpose, but in the end result, it's an example that shows what love is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm just staying true to that, and whatever else happens, I can live with
Absolutely.
it. I can live with it, you know.
Yeah.
So
Coming up as a
that's how it came out for me.
coming up as a young trumpet player, was there anyone in particular that you kind of idolized or kind of looked to
Oh
for
yeah, yeah. I was listening to Miles Davis. I was listening to Charlie Parker. I was listening to Blue Mitchell on trumpet. I was
Oh yeah,
listening to um, Donald Byrd and the Blackbirds.
yeah,
Don't, don't, don't. Ba-da-da-da-ba-da-da,
yeah.
don't.
Flight time.
Lifetime, brother. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm listening to all of that kind of stuff and Crazy in the Guy, Hugh Masekela. And
yeah,
I'm listening to those things, and I'm listening to the last poets, black ties to the sky. Because that was the first rap music.
yeah,
Before Sugar Hill, before anything, it was Gil Scott Heron and his crew that was creating rap over conga drums and African drum beats.
yeah, yeah.
That's where the rap initiated,
Absolutely.
So I've lived through that to see how it evolved. And after having Grammy Awards and all of this stuff, first time we ever got our butts kicked on the stage was after time started changing from the 80s and going into it was already started in the 80s going into this rap thing that was starting to become more strong and strong. And
Yeah.
here we are, Grammy Award winners, all dressed out and dancing and killing and everything. We get ready to go do this show. And they had Grandmaster Flash come up. And Grandmaster Flash was standing up there with a microphone. He had a dude that was standing up, looked like a gangster, and wasn't saying nothing on the stage, what have you. And all he would say, yeah, yeah, okay. And he would just go on and spit his rhymes and stuff. And we were like, now what is this guy gonna do? He ain't got no band. Look at this. What are they over there playing tapes, then what did he call himself getting ready to do? This
Mm.
guy got up there. By the time he got over there, wave your hands in the air, wave it. The whole audience was like, all in ah! Look, we looked at each other from behind the curtain. We said, it's a new day. It's a new day. We came
Yeah.
out there dancing and singing. They were like, okay, I guess we'll go home now.
Too much, man. Just want to get a little bit of
Woo.
history while we got you on the line here. And so your entrance into the Dazz Band, coincidentally, they didn't start off as the Dazz Band. The name initially was Kinsman Dazz, and in the mid '70s.
Right,
And so
right. Kids and dad.
talk a little bit about your entry into the band there.
Um, I was playing with a group called Mighty Generation. They were from Youngstown, Ohio, and we played Parliament Funkadelic. We wore powder blue hot pants with leggings from the knee down. We sang "Swing Down, Sweet Cherry, Stop and
Yeah.
Let Me Ride." Okay, and this was the Chitlin Circuit. The Chitlin Circuit meant we made $20 a night a man, and 10 of those dollars went to the community bag of weed, and that's how we were living. Okay, at that time. So
Yeah.
playing with that group for about 3 years is how I ended up opening up with Mighty Generation, opening for Kinsman Dazz in a club in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And the guys that were I was about ready. I was done being a delic, and I wanted to, move on. The guys, they were cool, but they weren't as committed like I was for getting better, to
Yeah.
excellence. I
Yeah.
was ready to get out of there and move on.
Yeah.
And that's when I met the guys from Kinsman Dazz, and one thing led to another, and I went and talked to them at 21 years of age, and told them the band looks. I like the sound of the band, but they had a lead vocalist, but they looked fragmented, what have you. And I said, well, I'm gonna go and not infringe on this lead vocalist. I'm gonna see, can I be a trumpet player? I went, I'm like, you guys looking for a trumpet player? I'm your man. And like this young cat with all of this vinegar, and they had this young cat, and now wow, okay. So that's how that happened, and that took that place, and that's how I got into the band. And one thing led to another, and I ended up doing about 9 albums with the Dazz Band
Yeah.
at that time,
Mm.
and I did it for about 6, 7 years, and then it got a little bit to a point where it was just basically being controlled by one guy who was doing, all the music was his, all the stuff was his, no, and I said, you know what, it's not a band scenario. I'd rather just move on so I can, I want to do some things. I want to be heard, do some other things. So I'm going to give this up. And here we are with Grammy Awards, with all the chicks in the world, with the cars, with the monies, with all the things that go along with success, which is a double-edged sword. And it had all those things going on. I said, no, I'm gonna kick off out of here and reboot. And I won't even say anything. I'll let it just, this will be my last day. And I did out of there. And because we had opened up for Kool and the Gang in concerts for years, and Rick James and the Whispers,
Mm.
I had some experience, and the people knew who I was. And JT Taylor had left Kool and the Gang around the same time that I had left the Dazz Band. And Kool and the Gang called me and to audition, and I auditioned. And unbeknownst to me, I thought I maybe would get it, be able to be there for a year or so, and then it turned into two decades.
Yeah.
And I did 12 albums or something like that with
Yeah.
them. By the time that could come about, oh, I had about 25, 26 albums
Yeah.
at that time,
Yeah.
and I just kept on going, and now I've got about I don't know, 64 albums, something like that,
Yeah.
album
That's
projects.
awesome. That's awesome.
So I just kept doing it. And I'm like a painter, I don't rest on my laurels and look at my paintings. I only do that when I have downtime, and then I might look. And that's another thing I tell people out there: life is like a mountain. If you look up at the mountain, you may be overwhelmed because it's so big. and it
Right.
looks like you're not even moving when you look up the mountain. But if you look down at your feet, it looks like you're going fast. So just keep looking down and put one foot over the other and keep moving. And every once in a while, look back down the mountain and you'll see how far you come.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Makes the journey more doable.
No doubt. No doubt. Well, one of the things I wanted to ask you about too, of course, the Dazz history is so big, man, and the couple of albums that the Dazz did in the mid and late '70s, were a little bit more quieter than the Motown releases. But you guys got with Motown, of course, your entry in, and then also the legendary Reggie Andrews. That's
Yes.
You guys picked up some serious momentum and some serious hits when you guys connected. I don't feel that Reggie gets his due credit in a lot of areas. If you don't mind just talking a little bit about the
Reggie,
legendary
Reggie
brother.
changed my life. Reggie changed my life because Reggie, when we were doing the song Let It Whip, he wrote that basic song with Ndugu Chancellor. And when they put the song together, the song sounded so corny and so straight that we were making fun of it in the studio. We said, this thing sounds like damn Gilligan's Island. You know, here on Gilligan's Island. Well, Let It Whip goes, wanna see you with that show and treat you right. Give me just a minute of your time tonight. We both are here to have fun. So let it whip. That's the trivia that most people don't know.
Mm, interesting.
Because our manager, success being a double-edged sword. And I
Yeah.
remember having a Grammy Award at 25 years old and all the kind of gigs and all the accolades everywhere in the world. And I looked at a calendar and it said that I was going to play in my hometown, Sacramento, on such and such a date. And I called my mom. I said, Mom, we're going to be home playing in Sac on such and such a date. She said, Baby, that's great. I'm going to make you dinner. And I said, that'll be great, Mom. She says, as a matter of fact, I'm going to make dinner for the whole band. I'm like, the whole band? Mom, there's 15 of us. She said, I'm going to make dinner for the whole band. I said, oh, Mom, that'll be great. So I waited at Philadelphia, New York, Florida, Baltimore, all these different places and worked our way back west. When we got to the west, we were in Sacramento. We did our concert. And my mom went and the sister went to go fix the house and everything for the dinner afterwards. Our stage manager came to us and said, everybody gather around. So listen here, we just got a gig in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's a 14-hour drive. So we're not going to the hotels. We got to leave straight from here and go to the bus to get out of here. Now I got to walk to the dang telephone booth. We didn't have cell phones and call my mom and say that we can't come to dinner after all that she done made. And my heart was broken and what have you. My sister said she was going to come see me. So she drove from downtown where she was. She drove and she came down to see about 20 miles. So she came down to see us and we were surrounded by about 400 people in our limousine because our bus was parked in another place. So we were getting ready to go to the bus and then I see people in the crowd abruptly moving right and left and right. And it was my sister breaking through a crowd like a linebacker, just pushing people out of the way. And she got up to the limousine and the bodyguard saw her and I saw my sister at the same time. He said, that's my sister. She said, that's my brother. Bodyguard says, yeah, but we got to go. We're going to Albuquerque. It's 14 hours. I said, man, let her through. He said, well, you got 2 minutes. I said, man, you working for me. Let her through. So he let her through. And when she got through, I just looked at her and I said, sis, I love you and everything, but we got to get out of here. We got a 14-hour ride, going. She says, that's all right. And with her big brown eyes, a tear came down her cheek. And it got to her cheek and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger until it just dropped in slow motion. And it seemed like a cymbal crash when it hit the ground. Push. I
Wow.
looked up in her eyes and that's when I realized success is a double-edged sword. The
Yeah.
people closest to you pay the biggest price for your success.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you young people out here are aspiring to be successful, just keep in mind that everybody that you want to appreciate that don't get a chance to see you the more successful you become because you become in demand by the world and friends don't matter.
Yeah. 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 So true. So true. Yeah. What?
So that's my story, and I'm sticking to
I hear you, man. One of the other things I wanted to bring up too also is with the Dazz Band, and also just wanted to kind of show off some of the covers, man. You guys had some iconic album covers like the Ohio Players and different groups
it.
like that. So I don't know if we can catch some of these, but I got some of the albums here. This is
I can't see anything because I still see that thing meeting is being recorded,
yeah,
but I can't see it.
yeah,
Right.
but I got a lot of the albums like with the women here. This Hot Spot
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's Keep It Live. Yeah.
Yeah. We were doing that. It was aesthetically grabbing people's eye and reminiscent of what Ohio Players had done, and Honey and all those different things.
Mm-hmm.
And we started putting ourselves on the backs of the covers. There's a few covers that we have us on, but more so on the back than on the front.
Yeah.
And we called the cover for Keep It Live that had Let It Whip, we called her the Pink Lady because it was all distorted and everything. And it was bled over with pink and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, you gonna put that as the cover? Ugh.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
but
I'm
it
looking at
worked.
it now. Yeah,
It worked. So,
yeah,
if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
yeah. Absolutely. You guys have some iconic albums and covers to match up. So definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
with so many guys being in the group, at times was it difficult to? You guys are all writing and contributing. How did you guys manage to like choose which song will go on a project at that time with so many members?
Well, it wasn't all of us writing and choosing. It was like the leader of the band,
Mm,
being a part, doing most of that stuff. And if he wasn't on the song, then you wouldn't get in it.
gotcha.
So you
Okay.
in with him, and that was a thing you had to deal with. And that's part of why I left the group
Ah,
after the first 8 years. I'm like, look, if it's all going to be about you, you guys going to be rich and famous, and I'll start over.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
You
And
know,
and
that was my
interesting.
whole. Yeah, that was my whole thing. And then God blessed me with even a better opportunity.
And you go to Kool the Gang after that, which is interesting too, because another iconic group, and they already had a history of being a great
Mm-hmm.
funk, jazz, and R&B band, and then also coming through the disco era, and then
Mm-hmm.
going into the disco era with them. They get, of course, JT is lead singer, then he departs, and then you come in and fill his shoes.
Oh my gosh, I had to go through stuff. Boy, I had to go through stuff just on that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
because
had to go
JT
through
sang some
stuff.
iconic licks with Kool the Gang. So how was that adjusting to being the new?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was fine.
Mm.
Everybody hated me because I didn't sound like him. Initially. You know, initially I sounded like him, but I tried to sing the parts like him, but it was boring as hell. And then they
Mm.
decided to uh, let me be myself, and that's where I blossomed.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely,
That's when
absolutely,
it
Well,
really
thank you
blossomed.
very much for this time, and
absolutely.
I appreciate the love.
Thank you so much.
Definitely.
I appreciate it too, and I'll keep you posted on and everything when it's up and ready to roll for you.
All right, please do.
Okay. And then Skip, if you don't
Thank you
mind, before
so
we
much.
go, if you don't tell everybody where they can find you if they want to find your music.
Find my music on skipmartinmusic.com, at Skip Martin on Instagram, Skip Martin on Facebook, and
Perfect.
holler
Well,
at
thank
me.
you so much, Skip, for joining us, and we hope you much success. We appreciate you so much, my brother. I hope it's not the last time.
Me neither.